Hi, Nancy.
Hi, how was your trip?
Wonderful.
That's good.
Cutest 2-year-old ever.
Oh, no, I think I might have the cutest great grandson who's also two.
Oh, fun.
We both have the greatest. And
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah. There's really no limit on the greatest when it
No.
comes to grandkids.
Mm-hmm. There we go. When did you get home?
Monday night. It really wasn't that long of a trip. They're both working and so it was basically like a long weekend. But very nice birthday party with lots of my son-in-law's extended family there. There were 7 kids, and baby Zoe was the youngest, and all of the kids were just so gentle with her, and everybody wanted to hold her hand, and it was very sweet.
That's wonderful. And a good flight home?
Yeah, yeah, not too bad. I had never gone through Midway before. I'd always gone through O'Hare or Minneapolis. And we were late getting in, but I had enough time that I didn't get bumped from my flight or anything. So all good.
Yep. Getting home, all is good.
Yeah.
Yeah. None of the situation that Brown found herself in going to visit uh, Oprah.
No. Although the last time I went over to Scotland and returned, I came back through Newark, and it was on the day that like all the air traffic control screens went blank. So that was exciting.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
spent 3 hours out on the tarmac.
Oh man.
Did
Yeah.
you get free peanuts and drinks?
No, not even free
What?
peanuts. Because they would come on the speaker about every 15 or 20 minutes and say, "Thanks for your patience, folks. We should be leaving in about 15 or 20 minutes."
Jesus. Ah. Oh, well, my clock is ringing 4 o'clock.
I know. Where is
Everybody.
Luba? And there's Jim. He's showing up.
I used the link in the well that I got today. I don't know who I got it from. Hi,
Rebecca.
Jim. I'm gonna make sure that Jim doesn't fall off that cliff there into the bay. How you feeling, Nancy? You haven't coughed yet that I'm aware of.
Well, I went for um, an infusion yesterday
Oi.
for immunity. It's just like zinc and lots of drugs to build up my immune system because I was still coughing. Went to my massage therapist this morning and she did some work on my back to help clear the mucus out. And yeah,
Wow.
yeah, it's been a road,
You
but
sound better.
I feel like I'm getting better. Yeah. And now Dale is coughing and sneezing.
Oh no.
Wow. Well, thanks for staying away from this for the most part and wearing masks.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Does anybody have Luba's number?
I do. I will give her a ring.
Hi, Todd. How are you?
Good, thank you. Little wore out. Moved some pine needles today, thanks to with the help of some other folks. So that was good.
Yeah.
Still
Hi,
got some to move for sure, but
hi, Jim. Welcome.
Hi, everybody. I said hello before, but my audio was still muted, so sorry about that.
Glad you could join us.
Yeah, thank you for inviting.
Mhm.
Peggy had that something like you're describing, Nancy, for a long time. Went to the doctor and finally had to get on antibiotics, and then she got better, and then she got it again, but didn't have to have antibiotics a second time.
Yeah, I actually did what she did, and when I was at the drugstore, I said, "Can I buy some of that Sudafed behind the counter from you?" And he said, "Yeah." So I've been using Sudafed and other medicine to try and get it cleared out.
Good, good.
Hi, Jacob.
Hey everyone, sorry I'm late. I'm here in Denver for the week.
No problem. We are just trying to get everybody in started.
All right, I sent a text to Luba and I left a phone message for Luba. So I don't know what to say.
Hmm.
Hi, everybody.
Yeah, I got to say.
Well, we have four, so that's quorum, right?
Yep.
So we can proceed. Um,
Uh, no, wait a minute. Yeah, we have four. That now I see Dick.
yeah. Yeah. Okay. So we will go straight to our video, and thanks for finding that and sharing it with us, Nancy. Um, discussion, reflection. Did everybody have a chance to take a look at it?
Yeah.
Thoughts?
Well, I I'll go. I had trouble relating to her comments about vulnerability, but I got the parts about gratitude and joy, and they were those were good. Those were good comments. I just didn't get the tie-in with vulnerability, but yeah, inspiring.
Mhm.
Let me tell you why I picked it in the end. I wanted to use it as a gratitude thing for the board members that are leaving, making sure you know how thankful we are for your service as a board member. But also, then I started thinking this morning, um, do we ever reflect on as a board what we're grateful for in the church and what brings us joy? And so I'll open it up.
Mm.
By the way, I'm calling Doug Deaton.
He might be
Okay.
traveling.
No, he's not.
Oh,
Hmm. It reminded me of something I read years ago. I don't know if it's apocryphal or not, but um, a simple study done, and they had one group of people journal and write down all their troubles every day, and they had another group of people um, recognize what they were grateful for each day, and another group that had no intervention. Maybe they ate Cheerios or something, and it was the group that contemplated their gratitude at the end of the trial period that was happier.
mm-hmm.
So, and we, Nancy, what you mentioned about the board, I think we often focus on difficulties, challenges, problems with the church when we're on the board. And being grateful is something we often miss, and it's important.
Hmm. Yeah. I
Good thought.
realized when I watched it about 3 times, and one of the ahas that came to me as a mom when she talked about parents standing over the crib, or reflecting on all the good things that are going on in their lives and then doing that, uh-oh, uh-oh, the shoe's going to drop. Well, when my kids were 18, 19, 20, and away from home, I would spend the time where they were traveling to come see us just worrying. And it's like, I wonder how much of my life I have spent worrying that something was going to happen instead of just being grateful that they were coming, to visit. And yeah, so Dick, anything that rang for you in that video?
I don't think I got through it. I think I remember trying to look at it, something went wrong, or I got distracted or something. But what you just said sort of rang a bell. We have some uh, friends visiting from St. Lawrence Island in the Bering Sea. A gal named Eleanor and her son and daughter, and they were good friends with my sister, coming down for medical things. The first thing is they come into the airport at SeaTac after they flew from Savunga to Nome to Anchorage to SeaTac, and they go down to the carousel, and one of the bags is missing of the teenage girl. And it turned out they were able to look through video and see that a woman had come in and just walked off with the bags, and no one from the airline was watching it before the passengers arrived. The bags came out too soon. So maybe they should have worried. When you don't worry enough, sometimes things happen like that. You're just not expecting. Well, things will work out, just that kind of thing. And then I worried about the annual meeting, and I tried to come in by Zoom, and it said I got in, but that was put in the waiting room. I never got to hear anything or see anything. And so uh, I probably should have tried to run through the whole thing beforehand with somebody who was going to be the Zoom host. But it didn't occur to me how that was being organized or not organized. Yeah,
I'm
Yeah.
sorry about that, Dick.
yeah. I tried to come about. I came in 3 or 4 times. It said I got into the meeting, but then it said, "Oh, you've been put into a waiting room," and then that was it. No one was checking on that.
Hmm.
Dick Steele was the host for that meeting, and I haven't had a chance to talk with him or Rebecca to see if there
Yeah,
were any kerfluffles.
if I'd known who the host was, I might be able to find a way to contact him. But I didn't think about that till afterwards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was just a phone call kind of thing, and it went right there once I figured out how to do it through Zoom. But I was traveling on the light rail most of the time. The first half hour on light rail when the first crucial half hour of your meeting was happening.
Mm.
The worst part is we had several decisions during that first half hour that came down to one vote, Dick.
Oh yeah, I can believe that. Well, I didn't want to miss that first half hour, but actually, maybe even then, I was part of the time I was in the downtown Seattle tunnel. I probably would not have gotten through because I was relying on cell phone coverage. I probably would have missed that anyway. But
Hmm.
That does speak to something. We presume that everybody is going to get in there on, Zoom with a video, and you were trying to get in by phone without a video. Is that correct?
well, I've sometimes been able to get in by video that way
Huh.
too. I mean, I was phoning in, but and
Wow.
But
hmm
there have been times I've done that before and I've just had voice, but I think one time I managed to get the video. And that's all confusing. I mean,
Yeah.
those kind of things should be worked out beforehand so everyone knows how to do those things.
We've learned a
One of the things,
lesson.
And it said there were 4 people that were logged in as attendees on the Zoom or voting members or something like that. Lingo, I'm sorry.
one thing I was thinking of on the concept of being grateful. We used to have a group in our church in Louisville, and it almost always started off with a check-in. And the check-ins were
The washer needs it closed.
almost always negative.
Mm.
Like, oh, well, I've had a terrible week, and people were unloading kind of the hardships they had. And if we waited and did a checkout, the checkouts were always positive. And I was just thinking about the mindset of enjoying a process with people, enjoying your company, enjoying your work, whatever, and how that mindset shifts from coming in and needing people to hear the negative stuff you've had, and suddenly you've had a positive experience and what you want to talk about is the positive experience you've had.
hmm There was one part of the video where Brene Brown had interviewed a husband who was afraid of leaning into joy with his wife and family because of that fear that something's going to happen then. And they were on a road trip and got in an accident, and the wife died. And he told Brene, I wish I had leaned into those moments of joy. And the simple things are the things that most of the people that she spoke with said they missed so much. Um, you know, how she set the table, hearing the screen door open and close, or hearing the kids fight out in the yard, and all those simple joys that day to day, when they're gone, and you go, I should have lived that moment better, I guess. So, gratitude.
And do we have Dale to thank for that? Was that a video that he brought?
No, he wanted me, and I looked at Professor someone, and there were some videos there that were about why people are leaving the church. And there was one that he had watched about 2 different congregations, and he said, that would be good for the board. I couldn't find it. And so then I was going to call Todd and say, help. And I thought, I love Brene Brown, and she's got a book that I would recommend to the next board, and it's called Dare to Lead. And she's doing a podcast, I guess, small little snippets of it that might be worth looking for and sharing with the new board. But anyway, I just wanted to say, Tom and Dick, I'm so grateful that you chose to take up the responsibility on the board, and Jacob and Jim, thank you for agreeing to come on board.
Been a good experience. Even though I'm getting older, can't do as much.
They gave me a chance to get out of this conference for an hour.
And Jacob and Jim, we are really making a concerted effort to get out of the weeds of the minutia of that boards can fall into, and instead kind of elevate our thinking in the board, keep our eye on the prize, look at the big picture, that sort of thing. So if either of you come across things that are inspirational, good for reflection, good for discussion, very welcome, very welcome. We'd love to have them. I try, particularly if there are things that will take a little while to watch or read, I try and send them out earlier with the agenda, so people have a few days to do that. So
I have a
just keep
quick
that
question
in mind.
for Jacob. Jacob, some people in my church asked if you would be willing to do a Sunday service at this is the Saltwater Church near Seattle, sometime. They heard about you and thought, well, he'd be a good someone who could do a Zoom service or even come in person possibly. Would you be interested in that? That's Des Moines, just south of Seattle.
Oh yeah, I'm doing some sermon. I'm doing some sermons in Woodinville and East Shore, um,
Ah,
coming up in November and some other stuff too. So
okay. I'll let the service committee there know that you would be interested, and maybe we could take advantage of if you're in here in person too. I told him, well, he's a really good, inspiring person. I've heard you a couple times now. Okay.
yeah, yeah, sign me up.
Thank you, Ryan.
Okay, so we'll get back to our agenda, and it was sent out to you. Thank you a million, Nancy, for pulling that together for me. I had a very important birthday party for a 2-year-old to attend, so I could not I could not fulfill that responsibility. Any amendments to the agenda, or is it approved as presented? Tom?
Um, let's see, yeah, I'm speaking. Yeah, I'd like to add two items that kind of we discussed, but they didn't, wasn't a big thing to not to be forgotten, and that would be to introduce the a suggestion that there be a conversation with the endowment team next year regarding any policy and procedures that need to be set up and to declare any kind of an emergency to exercise the access to the E-fund. And I had some, I sent some suggestions not to be considered by this board, but to be talked about with the endowment team with the next board. And I'd like to just to summarize that. And then I made an offer to be appointed parliamentary advisor next year if the board's interested. And also that under that, not to be forgotten, would be um, to do the appointments that you need to do for the next board, just as a reminder. So,
I would object to the first edition. That's already been dealt with at the board at the last annual meeting, right?
yeah, but the annual meeting,
You had it on there. You asked them not to vote on it. So it's done, right?
Todd, that was a matter
Why would the board take it up again after we've already
because
talked about it?
there is, well,
Well, I mean, both the board and the endowment team talked about that already in the board meeting.
how about we discuss that when it comes down to not to be forgotten?
Well, I'm objecting now to even having it on there. That's all.
Well, okay,
I don't see why we would put it on there. It's already been dealt with.
it hasn't, it hasn't been fully dealt with. That's the issue, and I'll
it
address
has
that.
been. I believe it has been.
Well, I
Both
believe
the
it is not.
board and the endowment team have talked about this. They said in a meeting they didn't support it. It was discussed during the annual meeting. Why would we spend another year talking about it?
I asked the president and vice president whether we could adjust the agenda. And if we're going to have to vote, we have four people who could vote on whether or not to adjust the agenda so we can
Yeah,
bring this
okay.
topic up.
I can't vote on it, but I'm objecting to adding it. I think it's done.
It's a matter of federal law that the access exists. The only question is, how are we going to
The
set it
endowment
up?
team's already addressed that.
The endowment team does not have that authority. It's the board's authority and their policy and procedures, and that comes right from Mary Giannini in a memo that was sent to me and to the rest of the board regarding this issue.
I'm objecting to it.
Mhm.
Guess the endowment team would too, but you guys want to vote to add it, make a motion and vote to add it to the agenda.
Tom, that it exists on the agenda as the first item under not to be forgotten. Is that sufficient to discuss it at that time?
Yeah, that's what it is, and I have that is not the additions. Well, that was something to be discussed. The other one is a future bylaw amendment to establish an appointed trustee treasurer. That was I think we talked about that in our exec committee meeting, but that needs to be added under not to be forgotten.
Okay. All right. So everything that you want to discuss, well, but we've discussed having Darrell as our non-voting board appointed.
Well, again, I'd like to talk about that and put it in perspective as a suggestion for the next board to deal with an amendment to put that process in place because it's not in place.
Hmm. I thought it was in place.
No,
No?
the bylaws currently as they read do not allow it. And the simple amendment to the bylaws would allow that process of appointing a trustee and treasurer. Right now, we just kind of, we don't have it there.
I think that what I understand from Rebecca is that we are covered with regard to the law. And what you suggested to Cindy and I is that we double check with Mary Giannini to make sure, as a lawyer, that that is correct and we're within our legal grounds.
Yeah, and that's exactly it. It's something that needs to be dealt with by the next board because we kicked the can down the road and just did what was necessary to get Darrell in place to be a treasurer starting on July 1. That didn't solve the problem, and that what I want to clarify to you so that the next board has this issue to deal with, and if they want to kick the can down the board or stick the can in a hole in the ground, that's up to the next board.
Yep.
Okay. So we'll go ahead and let you have you address that under not to be forgotten.
Sure. They're just like reminders.
Okay. Um, any amendments to the minutes that went out, or are those approved as sent?
They're good. I read through them.
Yeah.
Okay. Date for a board retreat. Nancy and I talked about that a little bit. The question, yes, Nancy, yes.
Let's talk for a minute about the next board meeting to make sure, at least with Jim and Jacob, that they are good to meet on the fourth Wednesday at 4 p.m. via Zoom.
Yes, sorry, I just jumped right over the top of that. So our custom has been to have our executive team, our executive committee meeting on the third Wednesday of the month at 4 o'clock. And that's me as president, Nancy as co-pilot vice president, and a rotating member of the board. And we basically put the agenda together for the meeting that follows a week later, 4 p.m. on Wednesday. I know I'm very flexible about when we meet, and that's just been a convenient time for this board. But how do you all feel about that time, the third and fourth Wednesdays at 4 o'clock?
So the third and the fourth Wednesday,
The,
next month.
well, the third Wednesday is one member of the board sort of rotating through. So every 4 or 5 months, you'd be up to take your turn for an hour-long meeting to help set the agenda. The
And
rest of the time is someone
sometimes
else.
it's only a half hour
Yeah.
just to set up the agenda.
And then our board meeting on the fourth Wednesday at 4 o'clock.
I'm good with all of that. You can just, as long as I just have it on my calendar, I'll make anything work.
Okay, good.
Jim?
So the fourth Wednesday is the 22nd. Is that correct?
Yes.
July 22nd.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna double check.
Do you think that
That's good.
that is a good meeting time? Like we try and stay consistent and stick with that time so people don't get confused about it for the fourth Wednesday of the month?
Yeah, the 4 o'clock for me is fine.
Okay.
How about
All
you,
right.
Jacob?
Yeah, I mean, as long as it's over Zoom, I can log on wherever.
Great.
Okay, good. Well, that's what we'll plan to do, barring any horrible conflicts from other members. We have Liz and
Yeah.
Kathy. Yeah.
And let me add to help with this explanation. When we set up Zoom meetings, one of the staff sets this up so it kind of is fixed in place and gets repeated over and over again, right? And
Mm-hmm.
that's why we trying to set this up for actually for the whole next year,
Right.
um, on the fourth Wednesday, 4 o'clock every month. That would be something that you'd reserve every month, and that would be the way it's set up through the church Zoom setup.
Yeah, I just paste that same Zoom link into my calendar for the whole year. And it's always there, so that works well. Um, Board retreat.
Cindy, I was thinking about this. There's really no reason why we have to wait for September.
Right.
We could even do it in July or August.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, although I know in July, Todd and Peggy are taking a cruise to Alaska.
Nice.
Yeah, but I mean, you could always meet then. I'm wondering if you would want to wait to set that up though when the full new board is in, so
Yeah.
What,
everybody
how
can.
about how about if we've got one, two, three, four people that will carry on. How about if we pick a possible date and then share it with those who aren't here and see if it works for them? At least we're working from a starting point.
Or even pick a month.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I like your idea about doing it as early as possible. When you go to September, you're 10 months, you're 2 months into a 12-month year. So if you could do it in August, that would be, you know, there'd be some advantage.
Yeah. Jacob, that's one that we kind of like to do in person and have some food and some hangout time, that sort of thing. Do you have things on your calendar you'd need to work around?
Yeah, in September I'm gone. Let me pull up my calendar. September I'm in. I have a conference in Greece, and then I have to be in Switzerland for like 2 weeks.
Wow.
So like from this,
You have to be in Switzerland in 2 weeks and Greece. Oh boy, I'm sorry for you.
uh, people always say that, but then I live in the state of perpetual jet lag, and my life is never the same. And it's like this thing. Anyways, it's so anything before the 14th, I can do in September.
What
Okay.
about August for you, Jacob?
Um,
So August,
so
go ahead, Jacob. Go ahead.
so I'm doing this canoe journey from the 23rd of July to the 8th of August. And so anything between like the 8th through the 14th of September I can do.
Or August?
I'm sorry, so from the 8th of August through the 14th of September I don't have I'll be in town. I'll be in Spokane.
Okay.
Jim, I know you're promoting your new business.
Yeah, August is pretty crowded for me. At least the second half of it. So, um, and if Jacob's not available till the 8th, Like, are we thinking the 15th of August?
It could be. Do you have any preferences about weekends or weekdays?
I can be flexible with that, but I'm just looking at my calendar, and Saturday the 15th, August 15th is totally clear. So
Todd?
Well, yeah, I will be around. Both August and September are pretty good for me. I've got, I'm going to be gone at any time. I'm going to take the last week of September, sort of that last week, first week of October, September off, but otherwise I should be around. You know, so I'm pretty flexible at this point.
Well, let's take August 15th as a possibility and talk with our other folks about that.
10 to 2.
Yeah, that works good.
Can I ask how long the retreat will be? Is it like a couple days or just one day?
Oh, no. We're looking at 10 a.m. to 2 p.m.
Oh, all right. Yeah, I can.
And that's usually doesn't last that long. That's just in case it does. Usually it goes from 10, maybe have some muffins and coffee or whatever and lunch together. And by then people wrap it, it's wrapped up.
Nap time.
Oh yeah, well I
Yeah.
can make that happen any day. You just let me know. I was anticipating like 2 days of intensive stuff. I don't know what my mind went to another place. Thanks for the clarification.
Okay. For our next committee meeting, our next executive committee meeting, putting that agenda together, Jim and Jacob, you are both here and we need a third. Nancy and I are 1 and 2. How about one of you volunteering for that half an hour or so on, it would be a Zoom on the 15th, July 15th at 4 o'clock.
July 15th. And I'm sorry, this is for a half hour of.
This is just to set the agenda for
Oh.
our next board meeting.
Yeah,
I'm available at that time, but
Yeah, I can make that happen.
okay.
Okay.
You want to arm wrestle?
Oh, yeah, we're volunteers. No, Jim, please, if you.
I'll jump in.
Okay.
It's okay.
Okay, I've got you down,
This is
Jim.
all new to me, so.
And I'm more than willing to help out in any capacity. If you all need help, I can schedule time out. I just need to make sure it's on my calendar, and yeah, whatever needs to happen, I can.
Okay, that's great. Nancy,
Yep.
do you have congregational survey information to share?
Well,
Cindy,
Yep.
I've got one. So what time on July 15th?
That would be 4 o'clock as well.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
And that's by Zoom, right?
Yes.
So I just wanted you to know that we are close to wrapping up the survey. It's about 5 questions and then some data about our membership. So I'm hoping to be able to get that to Rebecca. I didn't want to do it before the annual meeting. So I'm hoping by the end of the month we can get that to her and get her to get it into Breeze, which is the best way that we found that we can afford to send it out to the congregation. So we're taking our own sweet time about it.
Will that be kind of like SurveyMonkey?
Yeah.
Okay.
And most of the questions are check all that apply and then a space for any additional comments that people might want to make.
Mm-hmm.
So at the most, I would say it would take someone 20 minutes.
Nice. Let's see, we don't have Luba here with our ops team liaison report and membership update.
I
But
can share the operations team meeting notes if
that would
everybody
be great.
read them. During the meeting, Rebecca touched briefly on the subject of the budget summit, as well as a better way of setting up and tracking pledges. She talked about a more accurate reporting of financial stuff and said Darrow would soon have access to financial reports whenever he wants. On the building and grounds news, the lost hose spigot keys were found in the closet of the building, whatever that means. Parking lot resealing and repairs have been postponed because of the need to change priorities. Sprinkler system was repaired. There was extensive damage from animals and age to that. The church received Tom's donation for landscaping and money for a new refrigerator. Thank you very much, Tom. Julianne will do more fundraising for the refrigerator. Certain things like pest control for the building and installation of motion detectors for the women's bathroom should be done professionally. I noticed that the mice must have gotten into the women's bathroom ceiling again. That's okay.
Yeah,
I
so
looked at
we
it.
need more. Yeah, we need more than just the motion sensors. And at this point, we need an exterminator.
Oh, God.
That's going to be expensive. So
Yeah.
right now the lamps are the best solution.
Ah,
It already
Um,
it cost a bundle, as I think you all know, just to get it fixed the first time.
And then they came back.
They came back that quickly.
And other stuff to be taken care of was the plumbing volt issue. The person working on the sprinkler system discovered the valve breaking, and vandals were stealing water from our church, causing damage that cost $10,000 to fix it. Rebecca has photos and the plumber's statement for submitting a claim to the insurance company to be reimbursed for the money already paid by the church. If this works, it'll help to cover what we already owe for the sprinkler company job. There is no cash left in the capital repairs fund, so if necessary, we'll take a loan. Rebecca is going to discuss the idea of a new coffee maker with Alan. Instead of paying the loan for the current use of the Craven's machine, the church can buy a new coffee maker that is less expensive, instead of buying an old coffee maker for $500. And after giving back the old coffee maker, we can also save money buying a smaller amount of coffee. So,
yeah.
Tom, yes.
Yeah, I can add a little bit. I was about the water and the valve and all that kind of stuff. Julianne, who's on the ops team, asked me if I would help her kind of look into things like that having to do with where we suspected that water was being stolen from our fire hydrant because someone from Windsong saw a truck hook up to it with a hose. Um, and what I got from the water department was that there is a fairly inexpensive locking mechanism that can go on top of a fire hydrant that the rural fire districts and Spokane Valley Fire District use. Costs about $150, which I volunteered to buy. If they want to secure the fire hydrant from being broken into and have our water stolen. But when I talked to the water department as part of this whole thing that Julianne asked me to do, water department said the big valve that was broken that cost $10,000 to fix has three lines, one that feeds the church buildings, one that feeds our irrigation system, and one that feeds the fire hydrant. And she said the fire hydrant had only had 500 cubic feet of water taken from it, and the church building 6 to 8 or 9,000 cubic feet, which was pretty normal. But she said over a 2 or 3 month period of time, before we even turned our irrigation system on, 20,000 plus cubic feet of water was vandalized through that valve that's in that vault near our front property. And so I don't know. Rebecca said the operations team was going to look into seeing if they could secure and lock that vault from being opened
Yeah,
unless,
there is a plate you can get for that, but it's I think the cheapest is around 3,500. So it's nice. It basically when you know normally where you would put the wrench to open it up, there's a lock and there's a large steel bar that goes underneath it and keeps it down, and you have to have a key. You open that cap up, and there's a key you would need to turn it before you could actually uh, move that bar and pull the manhole cover up. But it is obviously an expensive piece of hardware to get. So, but
well,
yeah, so the reason we figured this out is the same day the folks from Windsong saw the people at the fire hydrant, who, by the way, it had no license plates on their vehicle, so they couldn't get the license plate. But our person who works on the lawn care equipment for us, including the plumbing and sprinklers, went down in that vault, and somebody had been camping in there. They literally was a campfire. So that's where we realized that the somebody was going down there and they had damaged it probably to get perhaps the same people even to get water for what I don't know. Why they're taking buckets of water.
just as an add-on there, Todd, since you have been involved, I too found very expensive locking manhole covers, but I also talked with one of the fire district, one of the outside of the city fire districts, and he described to me a locking mechanism that we could have fabricated if the little brackets that he had in mind could be welded onto the ring that surrounds the manhole cover that would result in a bar across the top of it secured with two locks, if very simply done. If you want to explore that idea with me or somebody on the ops team, I'd be glad to share what he shared with me as a possible fabricated one just by a local welder.
Okay, that's a good idea. Yeah,
Yeah,
it'd probably be more like a couple of hundred or something than
yeah, the biggie that he said is he wasn't sure how about whether you could weld anything to cast iron, if the ring around it is cast iron and not some kind of fabricated steel. So that may
yeah.
be a downer. But
Yeah.
if anybody's interested, I could even draw a little sketch diagram and show it would be two heavy duty padlocks on each end of a bar that would just be across the top of the thing, secured by by a couple of brackets that would be on the outside ring. So anyway,
Uh, my mind is still boggled by the thought of somebody camping out in the water vault.
Yeah. And the water vault, by the way, is right off the sidewalk.
yeah,
Right on Wish Way.
yeah, about
Right
10
on the
feet,
street. Yeah.
10 feet off the sidewalk.
The weird thing is, how would you even know there was space in there? I would never imagine that, but anyway, they must have been pretty desperate for a place to sleep.
Hmm,
And for water, apparently.
Yeah,
crazy.
20,000 cubic feet.
Yeah.
Well, wait a minute.
Well, they broke it, took the water they wanted, and then left, and probably took a while for us to figure out that it was, water flowing out continuously.
Oh, flowing out into the vault and
Yeah.
going into the ground. Oh my
Yeah.
God.
Yeah. So it would no telling how long that was going on.
Oh, geez. Yeah.
The same person who discovered after it had been repaired that somebody had been camping in it is the one who went in and said, "Oh my God, there's damage. It's leaking. It's poor water's gushing out of it."
Ah,
And so she just happened to look down one day and there was water gushing out of it. So there's no telling how long that had happened. And we called the water company and they came out and said, "That's yours. That's not our responsibility." So
Yikes.
Yeah,
they might have shut it off for us at that point.
you need the right tool to shut these things off because something similar to that happened to our cabin on Lopez Island a couple of years
Well,
back,
that's why
and it was
that's
about
why they
20,000.
damaged it.
It was about 20,000 feet of cubic feet of water before it was discovered. But in that case, it was just my sister forgot to turn the faucets off when she left for the winter, and then uh, and left the connection to the water system open. So it was just leaking out the water into the yard, and after a while, someone knows your yard's really wet.
Yeah.
But they gave us, it was a good deal. They said, we won't charge you the full cost. We'll only charge you about half the cost because it was unintentional.
Hmm.
Well, that's how it got damaged. They didn't have the right tools to turn it on and
Right.
off. They damaged it to get the water
Yeah,
they
just,
needed.
yeah.
Didn't we
Right.
perhaps have a similar conversation with the city water folks about lessening the bill a bit, since it wasn't anything malicious or intentional on our part?
I did follow up on that again, working with Julianne when I talked to the water department and they told me about which line had all the loss on it. I did ask her, I said, is there any way that we could receive some kind of an adjustment for a literally stolen water? At that time, I thought it was all stolen. Somebody had hooked up a line to it. And but as a result of a broken valve, and she said, well, that's on my pay grade, but I will send a message to my superiors to have them inquire. And I said, well, the person to contact is Rebecca Adams, our operations manager. So if anything comes down as a result of that inquiry, if Rebecca hasn't already made that. And the valve, if it was vandalized, Todd, isn't she's pursuing some kind of insurance coverage, whatever our deductible is?
Yeah, she's exactly. Yeah.
Does the water department have any way of monitoring, like on a daily basis, water usage to see if there's anything unusual?
No.
I mean, that's what they really need.
I
Is
didn't
No.
ask.
they have all kinds of automatic uh, measurement tools these days and
We don't
measure
have
water
it.
usage.
I
And
didn't
it
ask.
could be recorded automatically too. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't ask that.
Hmm.
Hmm. Okay, on to our not to be forgotten category. And the first one is conversation with endowment team regarding additions to policies and procedures for declaration to access e-fund. And Tom, you wanted to speak to that.
Okay, it's what after as you historically after you may know that the reason the bylaw amendment that was scheduled to be on there was because Mary Giannini had a couple 6 weeks or 5 weeks before the annual meeting had contacted the Seattle Foundation, and I'm reading from her email to me. She said. The Seattle Foundation does state that pursuant to or the agreement between the foundation, the E-team, and I'm quoting her, the E-team may request withdrawals from the fund pursuant to the UUCS policies and procedures. The key then is its policy and procedures. As we talked, what we need are policy and procedures for the board and relevant teams to identify what constitutes an emergency and what information might be gathered and presented to justify that characterization. And then she goes on and talks quite a bit more, but she concludes by saying the endowment is a last resort as established by policy and procedures and by our bylaws at this point. My sense of the E-team's discussion yesterday is that the E-team does not believe my proposed amendment that was supposed to go to the annual meeting would be necessary or prudent where appropriate policies and procedures are the recommended way to deal with such a matter. So I looked at the policy and procedures and saw three places where the policy and procedures could be modified to establish how to declare an emergency that if it was ever needed, then the endowment team could use that declaration to go and access the E-fund or talk to the Seattle Foundation. And in the process of what she says up above in her thing is the IRS rules also allow an endowment fund to be tapped in excess of the annual withdrawals when there's a declared emergency, but you have to have a process to declare an emergency. So my suggestion then is to not to be forgotten would be for the next board and the E team to talk about what they would need to have for a declaration. And I just suggested some wording, and that's all that's all it really is. And this board, we can't do anything now in this meeting. But here's following on Mary's Jeannie's email, declaring if we're going to do it, we can do it. If we're going to do it, we need policy and procedures to declare an emergency. And that's what I'm suggesting the next board deal with. And that's all it is. And I presented that information so that you'd have it as a starting point if, in fact, the board and the E team want to do anything at all.
Tom, you see that as a collaborative effort between the E team and the board?
Oh, absolutely. It has to be.
Mhm.
But it doesn't involve the annual meeting. It's policy and procedures, which is the board's document that it can adopt and make changes to with a majority of the board.
Mhm. Okay.
I guess it's not clear to me that how that if the board would declare an emergency, what special policies and procedures it would need. It would just seem like the board, someone would say, we have an emergency, and the board would talk about it and say, yeah, this is really a real emergency. We don't have the financial wherewithal, and they declare emergency. But what special procedures would there be other than an ordinary board discussion?
Well, what I'm suggesting would be such language to declare ordinary and extraordinary emergency necessary for major capital improvements with involvement of the E team and the finance team and to declare an emergency. But the board would have, if they're going to declare an emergency, they have to substantiate what. And what I was focusing on was some kind of a major capital expenditure that the people would decide, yeah, we can borrow money, we can do this, we can do that, but that still isn't going to be enough. So
But
that,
we can always do that. We don't have to have anything special in place. We can do that,
So
well,
right?
what we
Is it
can do-
the Seattle Foundation says you guys can, our deal is we can access money from that anytime we want.
that is not what
If
Mary,
there's something that comes up that says we need to do that, which God, I hope to hell there never is.
yeah, I do
That
too.
robs the future for the reasons I've said explicitly, but we don't need to have more rules put on the books to tell us how to do this.
Well, I'm just following
And
what
what we can,
Mary Giannini reported that you have to have a process for declaring an
well,
emergency.
it said, it did, that's not what they said. They said that if we, according to our policies and procedures, that's what the Seattle Fund said.
Yeah, and
If
that's
our
what
church allows it, if our church allows it, then we can do it.
that's what this is, Todd. It's adjustments to the policy and procedures to clarify we have a process to declare. Now, I'm out of it. I'm off the board next year. You guys can deal with it, but
Yeah, so,
I
all
forwarded
right.
this from Mary Giannini with suggestions that fit the criteria that she said would be necessary to access the funds.
And Cindy and I have both committed to making sure that we take a look at something like that in conjunction with the endowment and Mary. So,
Great, great. That's all I'm urging and suggesting, that it not be forgotten and that we don't come up short sometime, that we don't have the right process in place.
Yeah, I'm guessing if it was a necessary major expenditures to make the church building functional again or property functional, that would obviously qualify. But the word emergency is so broad, the worry is that there all kinds of things might end up being an emergency.
Yeah, anyone could declare
You-
something an emergency.
you can't specify them all. And so the
mhm.
question is, do you want to just specify one likely one or what? It gets a little confusing there.
Yep, that's for you all to decide.
We'll have that conversation. We committed to that.
Good.
Yep.
Okay, updates for the month by month to-do list. Um, and I would like to suggest at our next meeting, we look for a volunteer, perhaps from one of our new board members, to be the calendar czar and kind of keep us on track with our month to month list. Not to let it get too far away from us and kind of steer us back there. I think having one person with that as their mission might help us keep on track, because there are things that we have to work toward with and anticipate in order that it be done at the right time.
Of
For
the
example, the notice of our annual meeting that didn't get done quite on time this year. So,
Cindy, I wonder if that could be part of what the group does when it meets for setting the agenda. Just that calendar is brought up, and we look at the calendar, say, is there anything we need to include in the agenda that's on our calendar?
And we need to meet with Rebecca. Cindy and I have already talked about that, and just update that list with her to make sure that we have everything on our calendar of to-dos that needs to be there. But that's a great idea.
Yeah. Tom?
Well, I think it is too. And what I did present to you guys was back when Lynn Janetian was president, which was some time ago now, she and Rebecca, just for historically, she and Rebecca developed a month by month guide for that. And then Rebecca and Lynn again and updated it in July 22nd of 2024. And I took that list and using my experience for 3 years on the board and as president, and I suggested changes and additions to that list that would even make it a better list, and urge that you two or whoever this person you're talking about sit down with Rebecca and come up with a revised list that would then give you the month-to-month guide of things you need to be looking ahead 2 or 3 or 4 months ahead for. So I think I said that to you too, did I not?
Yeah.
Okay, good. And that's all. That was my best effort to try to give some additional guidelines there for you to talk with Rebecca about.
Yeah. Hi, Doug. Church membership.
Hi.
I know.
Sorry I'm late.
Good. Glad to have you here. Church membership. I noticed when people were signing in for the annual meeting, there were people on the sign-in list that I hadn't seen for months, maybe years, and maybe they attend virtually. I don't know. I have the feeling that there are people on our membership list that don't participate. And I think it would be good for us to have a cleaner membership list. We don't want to get rid of anyone who is a member, wants to be a member, but particularly for purposes of setting a quorum for annual meeting, it makes sense, I think, to remove those people who haven't attended and don't plan to, who perhaps haven't resigned their membership, but for all practical purposes, they aren't members. And I think that's going to require at least a conversation with Rebecca, but Todd, you may want to weigh in on that too. What do you think?
Well, it's a little bit difficult. We really have to go mostly by pledges, right? We have to go by if people met that part of their commitment, because you're absolutely right. Just because you don't see somebody in person doesn't mean they're not participating by attending. So we can't look at it, as because we haven't seen somebody and their name suddenly shows up where they want to attend a meeting, that they're not members, or they've been away and they want to come in, and who knows what. So the only way to really tell is, are they meeting our our other guidelines, right? Because there's three requirements, of course: sign the membership book, participate in a meaningful way, whatever that means, and I think attending services is probably one of the counts. And then, of course, supporting the church, so having some sort of regular contribution. I
And
think
you,
there were probably a couple of people that oddly called in and said, "Hey, have I given my pledge?" Really shortly before the meeting, and so maybe those were some of the folks that I don't know, wanted to make sure they had a voice even though they hadn't really participated. But it's really hard to know outside of that. So Rebecca would be able to look at that list and
Yeah,
determine who has actually contributed within. We usually give them a year and a half grace period, even though the bylaw requires a year.
mhm.
I thought on that too, is that in some churches, there are people who virtually never go to services, but they're active in some auxiliary group. They might be in the writers group or an identity group or some other group like that, or whatever. So I think you would have to look at all the associated groups and find out, is somebody active in one of those groups? Um, but I think if they're not active in the services or one of those groups, then probably the criterion is a you'd expect, as everyone says, no normal pledge or something like that. Uh, but the other thing is there are some people who identify in general terms as UUs. There are lots of UUs out there who don't go to churches or anything. But every once in a while, one of those people who maybe grew up UU decides, well, maybe I should check this church out, or they see something interesting. So
Yeah, but our
yeah,
bylaws,
I'd be aware of those too.
Dick, our bylaws require that you've signed our membership book,
Right.
that you participate in some way, and that you are a regular contributor. So,
Right.
so we would be able to weed most of those people out.
Hmm.
Yeah. Well, and Todd, I think you might be familiar with people who have health limitations or, caring for a spouse or something that would have kept them away, that's sort of an extenuating circumstance that needs to be taken into account.
Yeah, for sure. I will have some of that, but there are a lot of folks that 80% of our Zoom attendees are local,
Mm-hmm.
right? So 80% of them are here. They could come to church, and some of them do. Some of them do both, but some of them
Mm-hmm.
don't. Some of them don't come. They just watch online. We
Mm-hmm.
don't know who they are because all we know is that they're from Spokane. So we would have to look at our membership rolls and determine again based on who's meeting.
Yep.
If we don't see them, but they've signed our membership book and they've contributed, we know that they're a member. Right? If
Mm-hmm.
we don't see them and they're not contributing, after a period of time, we would call them inactive.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And
Tom.
again, don't most of these people, I think all the people who watch services who aren't there are live streaming because there's no effective Zoom anymore, and that's something for the next board to.
Yeah, live streaming. That's right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we still haven't solved the problem of having a good Zoom system for the services or special meetings like or the annual meeting. I mean, we have an effective Zoom system for this meeting, the board meeting, but I know myself, our church has a vastly superior system for the regular meetings, and it involves more investment. They have a part-time paid staff person that one of the duties is to look to manage the Zooms and whatnot. But they'll get uh, sometimes 10, 15, 20 people just on the Zoom, not live stream. And then they have they always have half hour afterwards as for discussion and things like that. And this church could benefit from that, but it's going to take some kind of investment.
Tom?
Yeah, I just parliamentary advisor role here. When you get into this, there is an entire article in the bylaws with 6 sections that have to do with membership. And section 3 defines obligation of membership and discusses also what it really qualifies to be a member in good standing. So there's quite a bit of guidance, including the privilege of being able to grant someone, leniency if they have financial straits, but are still participating in some way, actively supporting the church. So there's a lot in there. Article 2, membership and voting privileges. It's an entire page long, has 6 sections, and you need to use that as you go through the membership list and try to decide who qualifies.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Rebecca does a pretty good job of keeping up with that each year. We're one of the few churches that actually do. Most churches have huge membership rolls because they never clean them out. We have, because we used to pay, especially have to pay, make an annual report to the UUA, and what they said we owed them was based upon our membership. We were really good annually at looking at folks who have been non-contributing and inactive for a while, and removing them from the rolls. Like I say, after about a year and a half, we didn't go strictly with a year, but we did try to clean them up, and they've stayed pretty clean. Otherwise, we'd have a lot more members right now than our book.
And is there a separate email list, like for the news, sending
Yes,
newsletter?
yes.
Sending a newsletter
There's-
to a broader list, the ones that are
Yes,
including
yes,
France?
yes, absolutely. So
Okay.
there's a lot of people that I haven't seen in years, we haven't heard from in years, that are still getting our emails.
Yeah, well, that's good
They're,
then.
they're just moved to either inactive or friends or something like that.
Mhm, mhm.
Okay. Any final thoughts? Tom, yes?
Well, I had the other one of my other, well, um, I had the 2 items I was adding. One is my offer to the next board is if they want me to be a parliamentary advisor, I'm willing to do it if they want to ask. So, but the other thing was that not to be forgotten, and for the next board to at least look into whether or not they need to formalize this concept of an appointed ex officio, non-voting trustee slash treasurer rather than not have it in our bylaws. So I sent you what was last considered, I think, in January or February of this year, for the board to consider whether they want to formalize it or kind of just, I guess you'd say just wing it as we are now without formalizing the process. So,
I'll commit to talking with Mary Giannini and Rebecca about that, so we'll get it legally done.
yeah, it isn't it isn't going to be controversial or anything. It's just a matter of tweaking some wording and setting up a process to appoint. And that's the bylaw that we had on our agenda back in February when we decided we would kind of take the quick way to work with Darrell. So yeah, so you've got some wording you could at least start with if you decide to go there or not.
Yep.
Okay. Any final thoughts?
Well, now that Doug is here, Doug, thank you so much for serving on the board. I really appreciated you in this last year that I've been on the board. So thank you, Dick, thank you, and Tom, thank you.
Yes, here.
Thanks, Nancy.
Good.
Thanks.
Doug, we would say this is your last board meeting, but it's your last board minute.
Yeah, I think that it's going to be a real exciting year for you with some new faces and new ideas. I'm excited for the next board.
Yeah.
And again, Jim and Jacob, thank you so much for joining us.
Yes.
Good to be here. Thank you.
Yeah.
Spokane does well. My opinion of Spokane has risen a lot in the last few years. There's a little more about it. It's kind of, if you're from Seattle, Spokane's way off over there, that little place over there. Now it's a much bigger place over there. Much more of a live entity doing some good things.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Mhm.
And we're done by 5:15. How about that?
Bye.
Bye-bye. It's been a pleasure.
See you in church.
Okay.